Hi, welcome. Today I'll be reading the personal statement that got me into schools like Yale, Stanford, Columbia, Berkeley, and more, as well as sharing tips and advice at the end to help you with your own essay writing journey. The prompt that I chose for the personal statement was the prompt centered around identity. Some students have a background, identity, or interest. Background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. Just past midnight, my house is definitely quiet. In these dark hours, I almost always find myself glued to my desk, framed with stacks of thrifted paperbacks, eyes peeled and criminally dry, writing. I am a storytelling listener. Heavy emphasis on listening. Beyond keyboard clacks, I listen to the sharp breaths of our broken shower drain, then piece together the soft fabrics of the memories they conjure until they form a whole. Some nights I play Ocean Vuong poetry readings while I brush my teeth and reflect on our shared family histories of inter-country movement, his from Vietnam and mine from Mexico and Taiwan, and how he crystallizes them into monarch butterfly migration patterns. Record how he releases generational trauma stanza by stanza. On other nights, I take mental notes on my mother's work drama with her boss she calls Stone Age, gaining insight into my mother's life when we have so little time together, being able to ease our age-formed gaps. Or maybe you can find me eavesdropping on customers at my family's small cafe, becoming invested in lives that aren't my own, their stories fueling my sore limbs behind counters more so than coffee. E.g., getting to know a gray-haired customer named Steve, an ex-veteran who can always be seen nursing a hot honey sea salt latte to go, catching how, mid-sip, his eyes close, how his spine softly gives into his wheelchair, or curled up under blankets, reading paperbacks that I snagged on sale at a recycled bookstore, learning more about cultures of the world, branching from Latin America to Asia and beyond, uncovering their different forms of connectivity, from Warm Cushions in Vacation by Carmen Maria Machado to fresh pan-cooked dorayaki and sweet bean paste, from Tetsuya Akikawa to the universal feeling of hope. Hoping to spark these same responses in others, I'm not only a passive listener, a sponge, but I weave these techniques and voices into stories of my own. Warm stories I hope will bring the same comfort through hardships to readers as coffee does for Steve. Stories that bridge divides and ease hardships. From writing free verse poetry from empty Google Docs files in between classes to raving about Audre Lorde's litany for survival, which gorgeously begs for an escape from minorities' fear-driven silence, a feeling I have often felt, with anyone who will listen, to staying up through burning eye writing sessions, turning family recipes, like chicken soup, into short stories. The practice has consumed my life in such a beautiful way. I write of moths bathed in moonlight, of Mexican and Taiwanese tenderness, of warm arroz con leche and tangerine, unwrapped mazapan candies, mijas and meimeis, and forehead kisses as goodbyes, some sweet, some tinged bitter, sending these time-baked pieces off to publications like the New York Times and the Adroit Journal. Some I'm still fermenting, scattered PDF icons across my desktop that I revisit. Through this, I navigate my own memories and identity, fragments I make permanent through oral and written language, never to be lost, each word a promise to not forget, to carve out space for my Mexican grandfather's sacrifice to serve in the army, for his family's U.S. citizenship, but also his belly-shaking laughter, to share my mother's forced assimilation from Taiwan to Ohio, but also her soup, her warmth, to connect both sides of my family at dinner tables through shared stories. Narrative becomes a bridge through time and memory, but also through cultures, braiding Mexico and Taiwan into a calm coexistence that lays on the back of my neck. My wish is that this unity reaches everyone reading and anyone listening, that this warmth travels far. But these identities aren't as separated as you might think. They build on each other, like a system of inhalation and exhalation. This is exactly what I hope to continue into old age, the practice of collective survival through narrative, of communal healing, of stories both breathed in and out. So that was my personal statement. It's something very close to me. The way that I hope to convey myself was through the things that I loved. So I didn't only talk about myself and my interest for reading, but I also made sure to spotlight the things that made me grow as a person, whether that be certain authors, certain books, but also a core piece of this essay was my family and how they impacted me, as well as giving homage to my culture. For tips that I have for this essay, okay, number 1, don't be afraid to write multiple drafts, because often the essays that you think are trash or that will be a waste if you write them, you can actually use these discarded drafts as building blocks for your future essays, such as the Why Us essay or the Why Major essay, or even the community essay. So definitely go into writing the different prompts with open minds, so that you can get the most out of your experience writing. I think definitely going into a draft is kind of explorative. You learn as you go, as you're writing things on the page. And so if you go in with a certain concept, don't be afraid to pursue another. Number 2, you don't exactly have to follow a certain structure, such as a linear structure. My very first essay draft was one that was kind of linear, but I found that trying to force my narrative and who I was within a single moment or memory was very restrictive. I didn't feel like it portrayed who I was completely as a person at all. I found more luck tying different fragments of who I was, and through a kind of mosaic style, I think I was able to build a more fleshed out version of how I wanted to portray myself. Try to fight the urge to have to prove yourself. You're so much more than how many long words you can use or the numbers of what you achieve. The numbers and stats of my whole application were better suited for my extracurriculars list, and here I really focused on the humanity of who I was and the story, kind of like the why behind the activities that I showcased earlier. Try to find some growth within yourself. Growth is the backbone of any compelling essay because it gives admission readers an idea of your momentum through the years rather than like scattered, lists of achievement. I like to think of it kind of like a narrative arc. When we're watching a movie, we like to see how they've grown as a character throughout, not only what they've accomplished at the end. And so think of it like you're writing a story about yourself as a character. Try to experiment with motifs or symbols throughout your essay that symbolize who you are as a person. I'm not exactly talking about the essays that say, I am an eraser or such, but I think that sprinkling in certain cores of your identity can be really powerful when creating an image of yourself as a person. For example, I brought up a motif of soup throughout my essay, and warmth, and family, and stories, because I think these are really integral pieces to who I am as a person. Even though soup might kind of seem a little out there or questionable, the reason why I use the motif of food, even though I sort of have no food-related extracurriculars, is because I thought that it served as a good symbol to what I was trying to do through writing or through literature and through my extracurriculars. I was trying to bring together people almost like around a dinner table to create communities and to create unity. I would highly recommend reading through your story and seeing what objects you would characterize yourself as to make a stronger image for your reader. Get specific with the things that you list in your essay. For example, rather than saying I read in my essay, I gave specific authors, specific titles of books that I loved. Creating specificity brings you closer to the reader, and the closer you can get, the better, because the closer you get, the more this humanizes you as a person, which is really the goal of the essay. Next, for catching errors, I would say the biggest things that helped me was reading the piece aloud, whether that was to myself, to stuffed animals, to friends, to family, really anyone that will be willing to listen, and then also printing it out. I think that often when I'm on a computer or on any device, it almost becomes regular, so I have this tendency to unconsciously skim everything, and I think it's easier that way to miss errors. And so I would highly recommend that you print it out and catch any errors that you might have glazed over. If you're anything like me and you have a tiny attention span, here's a resume and also resources that helped me a lot personally when I was writing my essay. You guys have got this. I believe in you guys with all my heart. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them in the comments below. Bye, take care.